Hello, my loves. Hello. I am so excited to be here with you guys. I have so much to share, like so much. I could literally probably talk on today's live for 3 or 4 hours. I have been getting downloads for the past week, including last night where I was up till about 3 a.m. working and channeling with the ancients. And so when you hop on, make sure you say hello. Let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. Hi, Corey. Thank you. I feel radiant. The energy last night, you guys, was exceptional, at least in my world. Like, hi, Dawn. How are you? Hi, Vanessa. Oh, I love you guys. And please share. This message is, like I said, I could talk for 4 hours. So I'm going to do my best to get through it patiently and calmly, because you guys know once I get that stream of consciousness going, I can go. So I'm going to try to, I've asked them to slow it down. Just let's bring it through nice and slow. I have notes just in case I get off topic. But the energy last night was exceptional. Like, I was just laying there and I was vibrating so intently, and it was insane how amazing it was. So amazing. Yay. I'm so happy you guys are popping on. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. And I want to say first, because I have such a wide range in my audience, in my community, from people who are brand new on their journey, people who are just dabbling, and those who are walking next to me, right? They're way showers and they're here. And so if for any reason anyone loses me, where you don't understand what I am saying, just breathe and just receive, because this is a quantum conversation. And so a lot of it may go over your head. It may kind of be all over the place, because quantum is not linear, you guys. It doesn't follow a particular order. It just is. It's just a culmination of everything, you know? And so just breathe and know and receive into your heart. My words are light encoded. And so this is a energetic transmission as we talk. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Rita. Norway. Welcome. That is amazing. I love it. I love it. Yay. Okay. All right. So for those who are new to me, that find me by accident, I'm Johanna Burkhardt. I am a spiritual teacher and healer and way shower and a participant in this crazy human experiment, this wild game of Jumanji that's currently happening. And I don't know everything. I don't. And I'm not trying to say that I do. And the way that I read the energy, I ask for it to come in thirds. So because time is so fluid, I ask for it to be broken down beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month. So it's about 10-day increments, but know that just because I say the first part, middle, end, it's going to blend, right? There's going to be that blending point where something might last a little longer, or something, might come a little quicker. So just remember that this is a container, and what I'm going to be talking about is the flow of energy collectively. And we each will experience this a little bit differently. And I want to start off by talking about that and just saying that with all the things that are going on collectively right now, there is no right or wrong way to process what's happening. And so I don't want anybody to feel shame or guilt or beat themselves up if they are not excited about what's happening, if they're emotional, if they're feeling like they need to avoid, if they feel that they are in the grief, they're in the trauma of what's happening, however you need to handle that in these moments where the energy rises. We have the ancients coming in right now. They require a lot of space. So give me 1 second. They require a lot of space. So there is no right or wrong way. So however you are handling in the moment, please give yourself grace. Please don't beat yourself up. Please don't look and compare to other people and say, well, this person's handling it so gracefully and I'm over here emotional mess, or I'm over here in complete avoidance, or I'm over here and, just completely shut down. However you are handling it in that moment. And we're going to talk about ways of which you guys can help process this information. What I'm here is to give you guys opportunities, to show you what's available, to show you what opportunity this is bringing forth, and to kind of give you a wider, more quantum perspective of what's happening in a way that I'm hoping will invoke a little bit of peace inside of you, okay? So in January of this year, I held a 2-hour workshop, and I've been talking a lot about this lately because they keep reminding me that, you're right on track, Johanna, and just keep reminding people about this workshop, because at any time, right, we can go back and we can listen to that and we can set ourselves up for success. And in that workshop, I said January and February of this year, right? This year is karmic return. This is a year of karmic return. And this was the year, in the beginning of this month, January and February was the time to really know who you are, to really get clear on what your boundaries are. And that means your boundaries are what you stand for and what you don't stand for, what you won't tolerate in your energy field, okay? What your values are. What do you want to be known for, right? What are those bullet characteristics that define your structure? And your structure is your skeleton. It is your human suit. And so we want to know without a shadow of a doubt what our container is made of. And so every time we decide to put something in our field, right, in our atmosphere, our personal atmosphere, we can kind of go through our checklist and we can say, does this align with who I am and who I want to show up as? Because we are all being called to be the change, right? I talked about the Great Awakening and how coming in March, we were going to have that first activation of that Great Awakening. Welcome in COVID-19, right? And then I said, come the middle of the year, we're really going to see things ramping up. Well, here we are. Here we are. Hi, Angela. You guys, if you're on, please give me a share and spread this message. I don't care where you share it. Just get it out there. So 5D, right? You guys hear a lot about that. And let me tell you, Gaia has already transitioned. She is already completely in a 5th dimensional consciousness, okay? Because Gaia is a frequency and she has already moved there. But we collectively, right, are not all participating in that. We are not all acting out and behaving and acting as we want to be or are in that 5th dimensional consciousness. Our behaviors, our words, our thoughts are not matching that of a 5D consciousness. And that's okay. And that's what we're here to do right now. This is the physical part of the Great Awakening that you are going to feel no matter where you are on your journey. You are going to feel what's happening. And it is meant to be that way because it is in the emotional body, right? That we carry that wisdom, right? Water holds memory. And how much water is within our being? How much water is in our bones and in our organs? And so this, right, is us feeling and receiving from the emotion. Because if you guys are a follower of me, I talk about, especially in my group experiences and my group membership, my monthly membership, I talk a lot about the emotional digestive cycle. Because just as we digest food, and just as we have an arousal cycle, right, that excites us, that triggers us, that brings us to this peak, the same thing happens with our emotions. The very same thing happens with our emotions. And so as that activation, that triggering, right, whether it's the energy, whether it's someone who was brought into your reality, whether it's something deep inside of you awakening, that trigger point is there to really bring what is ready up to the surface. And so when you're feeling these waves of emotion, right? And you guys, I still get them. I still feel these intense waves of an emotion. I'm an emotional authority. My emotions are my engine, right? That's for me. That's my engine. And so those emotions rise up and they become fuel. And as I accept them into my heart space, I receive from them. I receive the wisdom of what was that was buried deep inside of me. And I release the density because that light is now coming into that carbon density within me, and it's transmuting it. It's making space for us. And that's happening collectively, because if you think about each and every person going through this, right? And then you look at the grand stage, as I said last month, it was duality taking the main stage. And as you can see, it definitely has. Okay. So we're all doing this on our own way. So before I get too far into the update, I just want to go over some planetary notes. I'm not going to dive deep into what the full moon and the eclipses are meaning. I'm going to touch on it. The overall energy is really going to help you understand it. But there is 1,000,001 posts out there about the full moon and the new moon and the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse and the solstice and all of those energies that go deeper. But as a container, everything I bring through is connected to the planets because I have this interesting connection with the outer planets, okay, and with Gaia. And so I have this rotation. And so everything I receive and work with, it's all collective. It's all a culmination of everything, okay? Hi, Samantha. Hey, Misty. Hi. Okay, so I'm just going to run through these real quick. So on June 5th, and you guys, this portal actually opened already. It opened last night. That was the high vibrational energy. It was the portal opening for this lunar eclipse. Normally the full moons, the portals are 3 days before, and it's usually about 3 days after. That's like a total of a 6-7 day window for those energies. But because this eclipse, this new moon in Gemini that we just had, okay, that activated the North Node in Gemini, right? This is our paradigm shift for the next 18 months, all right? This is the big physical shift that's happening. So as we come into this full moon on the 5th, which is Friday, it is going to be a lunar eclipse. Now, comparatively, this is a baby eclipse, okay? But do not be fooled by that, because this is an activation of the ancients. This is an activation of the gods and goddesses. And we are the gods and goddesses, you guys. We are the gods and goddesses. And this is an activation of the South Node in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is all about the ruins. It's the karma. It's the energy that we build upon, right? And so we have that. And then on June 21st, I get so excited. I just want to dive in. So let me get through this. On June 21st, we have a new moon and solar eclipse in Cancer, my sun sign. That is going to be a heart activation and a big one. This is going, this is a 4 year. So this is a heart year. So this is going to be a huge heart activation. And listen, you guys, way showers, light workers, light leaders, right? All of you who hear this message, I am speaking to you when I say this. We are going to have a massive, massive soul tribe activation. This is your soul family, business, personal, fated relationships. So that means a lot of shit has to fall away, you guys, for the new stuff to make space for the new stuff to come in. It just has to happen that way, okay? So know that this is going to be a big activation. Now, that doesn't mean the next day, right? You're going to blow up on YouTube or you're going to all of a sudden have an influx of clients. You absolutely could. But what it's doing is it's activating the energies so that people and places and things that need to be brought into your atmosphere will be now on their way to you. You will be pivoting, right? We're going to have this big shift, right? And so a lot of people are going to have stuff ripped out from underneath them because they have to go in another direction, okay? And then we have the solstice, and then there are so many planetary alignments that are pivotal, more pivotal than I would say even the eclipse. But adding to the retrogrades will also be Mercury, who actually enters into its shadow period tomorrow, okay? And so let's dive into the energy, because when we talk about the Mercury going into the shadow period and everything that's happening right now, we talk about the rise of the ancients. So let's begin there, because they're here with me. Before I came on, I always meditate and get into my heart space and really make sure that I've kind of gotten out of the way. And I was really surprised at the families of light that showed up. So the ancients have been working with me. The Galactic Federation has been working with me. I am super connected with the Pleiadians. So the 7th and 9th dimensional Pleiadians have shown up, and they're all here right now. They're all behind me and next to me and just really supporting all of us energetically as you're here with me. But I had a new collective that I'm not used to working with, the 9, and they showed up, and I have never worked with them before. And so that caught me a little off guard, because, it's just not beings that I've worked with, but they all came forth and kind of put all the downloads in some type of arrangement so that we can get through this. But with the rise of the ancients, what does that mean? Who are the ancients? And so if you don't know who this collective is, there is, at the core of the ancients, there's the OG, right? There is the OG ancients. And I asked for them to give me a human analogy that you guys could connect to and be like, I understand. And so they showed me Frozen 2, okay? Please raise your hand in the comments if you have seen Frozen 2. Because in Frozen 2, you'll see these ginormous beings that are made of rock, right? The rock beings. And the rock collective is the OG, right? The first energies of this earth frequency, Gaia frequency that was formed. They were the first here. And the rock beings, and that's what they look like. When I see them in my third eye, they look like these giant walking boulders. And the only equivalent that I can think of is like you guys, I'm sure have seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and you see Groot, right? He's a walking tree. It's the same thing, except it's a walking rocks, right? Just like in Frozen 2. And then expanding upon the OGs of the ancients, right? Because this collective has expanded over the centuries and whatever that we've been here. We have the elements, right? Because rock, when broken down, becomes sediment. And that's the sediment that we build upon, that we stand upon and walk upon. And then we have the elements. So they brought in these big, beautiful oceans. And we have this huge wind, right? Which is also connected with the tree collective, right? So the tree collective is also associated with the ancients. They also, all of these stand on their own, but together they form a collective. We have fire, which is the spark, right? Because fire has good and bad, just the way that wind does, just the way that water does, right? And then, of course, we have the ethers, which is that cosmic frequency and the solar activity that comes in and just kind of brings it all together. That's the ancient OGs. And that has expanded to now include indigenous tribes and things of that nature, right? Really the ancient healers. So for about a week now, I've been hearing the rise of the ruins, the rise of the ruins, the rise of the ruins, like literally on repeat. And I'm like, what does this mean? What does that mean? And they said that this activation that's coming with this eclipse and these major planetary alignments, you guys are going to start to see, and I don't say this to scare you, so please do not go into fear. Please enter into an observation mode, okay? we are going to see an influx, and we've actually already seen an influx of earthquakes. Earthquakes, this will probably be a heavy hurricane season. We will probably have a lot of flooding, a lot of extreme weather. But what's happening is the earth is shaking things up because there has been ancient technology buried so deeply in our Gaia, in our earth frequency. And when we think about what's down there, right, it's not just the ancient technology, but there is this remembrance of who we are and our roots and where we came from. And over the centuries, we have had this underbelly of energy really blowing up and rising, kind of rising to the surface. And we know this as injustices that we see in the world, right? Whether it's political, religious, race, gender, it doesn't matter. There has been this slow rise, this underbelly, this current of energy. And the reason why it's coming to this boiling point right now over this next 18 months, these huge shifts and rises up, is because it is ready. You guys, it is ready to be released. It is ready for you guys to feel what's happening, to receive from those emotions the wisdom that it contains about what was. We think about ruins when you burn, right? When you have a farmer, they burn the crop fields and they burn them to rejuvenate the soil, to allow it to regenerate, to pull the nutrients up to the surface. And that's what's happening. This first cycle of June is a rebirth, a resurrection, a purification. So while if you play in, right, and are becoming addicted to watching the unfolding of this, the physical unfolding of it, it's really going to hurt. Okay? And I'm not saying it's right or wrong to watch it. You guys need to be your own judge and juries. You need to use your intuition onto what's right for you to watch and feel, and how you get your information, and how much you play in that. But this rise, this information that's coming up, has to be purged for us to shift physically into that fifth dimensional frequency. It has to be purged. We can't carry that toxic, dense energy of old paradigms, of old ways of thinking, of old ways of being, of old ways of treating people with us. There's no room for it. It's too dense. And so, yes, it has to come up to the surface, and everybody plays a role, and we will shift our roles. Our roles will change throughout our journey here. It will just change. So there are going to be some people who are activists. They are speaking out. They are fighting for the injustices. They are very vocal. You're going to see violence. You're going to see people acting out because they're angry, because they're feeling this rise of anger. It's like the example that they give is like when your kids or your significant other, they get on your nerves, you get on your nerves, like you just allow it to build and build. And you're like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep the peace. I'm not going to be disruptive. I'm going to just bite my tongue and shove it down, right? And then somebody makes a water ring with their cup and the volcano explodes, and you're like, shit, where'd that come from? Right? Because you let it build. And that's what we've been doing for centuries. This energy has been building and trying to rise up, and we squash it back down. And it rises back up and we squash it back down. And now they're like, no more. There is no more squashing it. It's so far up that it has no choice but to play out. Now, I will say that this is a very well orchestrated event, but it honestly doesn't matter It doesn't matter if this was orchestrated by the government or the dark or whatever, red pill, blue pill duality game that's out there. It honestly does not matter the source of this. What matters is that you guys use this opportunity. And this is what the big message was for the first of it. This is an opportunity for you guys to look at what's happening, to feel, to see, to hear what's happening, and to look at yourselves in the mirror, to allow whatever is out there, because the universe, right? The reality that you see is a mirror. And so whatever is triggered right now by what you see, by what you feel, by what you hear, that is your wounds to deal with. It has nothing really to do with the collective. It has nothing to do with what's playing out, because what's playing out is each and every individual person going through their ascension journey, going through their triggers, going through the rise of their density. And when you put enough people together that are going through the same thing, it's going to be played out big time. And so I always come back to this with my students and with my followers and with my peoples that are always my beautiful peoples. You guys are just amazing. We change the world. We change humanity. We help it shift faster by taking personal responsibility, by choosing how you respond to what you are seeing and feeling and hearing, by looking at what it's bringing up with you. Do you want to fight about it? Do you think that you're right? Do you want to call people out? Do you want to prove that this is all orchestrated? Do you want to prove that it's political? Do you want to prove that it is a race war? Do you want to prove that this was intentional, right? You have to look at where you're coming from and be honest with yourself. Because I'll keep saying this over and over again until it clicks with every single person that I can reach. And that is how you behave behind closed doors is what creates the collective energy. So if you, and they were very clear about this, as we move into the middle of the month, there is going to be an influx of what we consider false prophets. People who are really starting to awaken and are showing up and they're like, I know everything. I channeled all these beings and they, and they said this and this and this and this and this and this, right? People who not intentionally don't know who they're connecting with or what the hell they're saying. And so they were saying it's not good or bad, right? You are always where you need to be. You're always receiving what you need to receive based on your own state of being. They're telling me to let everybody know that everything holds truth. Everything holds truth within it, but not everything is all true. Everything contains truth. So you really have to get in tune with your intuition. And this is why it was so imperative that you know who you are, that you know what you're made of, so that when this information comes through, if it resonates with you, then that means that there is a frequency match, that is a truth for you as well. And know that truth can change and evolve and transcend. But there's also going to be a lot of false connection and a lot of false transcendence. And as my soul sister, mentor, and friend, Jessica Alstrom says, and coined perfectly when we talked last week, was a false sense of abundance. False sense of abundance. That's when the government wants to come in and play savior, right? Or you're attaching to things, people, places, and things that allow you to feel connected, even though secretly inside you're so lonely and you're craving intimacy and connection. But we don't liberate ourselves. We don't walk away from the people, places, and things that are no longer resonating with our frequency because we want that false sense of connection. We want that false sense of security, that false sense of abundance. And so it's all about you guys using this as an opportunity to really purge and show up for yourselves. And this doesn't mean you investigate every emotion that you feel. This doesn't mean you investigate and go down the rabbit hole and get caught up in your head of what does this mean and why is this coming up again and where did it come from and how do I fix it and how do I feel better and how do I soothe it and how do I avoid it? It's literally so easy, you guys. When the emotions arise, when the anger arises, when the grief arises, when the tears arrive, I want you to just sit there and say, okay, I have density coming up. It's wanting me to open up my heart and accept it and say, I love this part of me. To just be with it, to receive from it, not to judge it, not to fight with it. When you fight with your emotions, you create suffering. You drag it out. I am the queen. I have spent years in suffering because as I became emotionally available to myself, I attached to the emotion. I attached to the story that was playing. The other thing that they wanted to say is with this Mercury in retrograde coming in is, I mean, we are in the energy of Gemini, right? And we're in the energy of duality playing out. So while there is going to be a ton of truth revealed, right? Again, remember, this is the rise of the ruins. So anything that needs to show up, to be disclosed, to be seen, to be heard, to be felt is going to come up. You don't have to force it. You do not have to force it, you guys. You don't have to go digging for it. It will rise. But within that, right? Like I said, there's going to be truth in everything, but not everything is true. So as you guys are watching, if you are tuned into social media and all that's playing out, if you are tuned into the media, the news, whether it's Trump or your own representative or an influencer or whatever, there's going to be confusion. The stories are going to be all over the place and they're going to be confusing the hell out of you. And there's actually a reason for this. Excuse me. I'll tell you, I have never had to make this much space as I channel. The reason for it, right, is because we're coming into that heart activation. We're coming into the heart activation. And what is the easiest way to drop somebody into their heart? It is to blow their mind. It is to, have you ever been so utterly confused by what you were seeing or hearing or learning about that your mind was just like, I can't think anymore. My brain hurts. Like this makes no logical sense. And so you instantly go from logic to nonsense by dropping into your heart. And you begin to stop thinking about what's going on and you start feeling. And so there has to be a miscommunication. There has to be so much mishmash information that you're so confused that you're just like, forget it. I got to turn off my head. I have to turn off the logic and I have to get into my heart space. I have to get in to this space of purity. And so remember, everything that you're seeing and hearing is not what it seems. It's all perfect. But to the human, right, to our human aspect, this is scary shit. So try to keep that in mind. Try to keep that in your mind. We're bringing it forward, remembering. Because the ruins of what was, what's rising up, history isn't going to repeat itself. We are going to get the wisdom from it this time. And we are going to build upon the wisdom that we receive from our emotions. We are. But we have to see it, feel it, know it, be with it, not judge it, not ridicule it, not shame it. We will also, as we move into the middle of the month, be having a throat activation. And the throat activation is a part of this because it's activating truth. So you're going to see more people choosing to play the role of the activist, choosing to play the role of the leader, choosing to speak out. There's going to be more people individually speaking their truth, right? Being honest with themselves, being honest with their partners, being honest with their children. People are going to start putting their masks down and saying, this is who I am. Because when we talk about societal rules of how we're supposed to show up in the world, there are no rules. I had one of the beings came forth and was talking about order and balance, and how the universe is always in balance. It's always in divine order. Okay. But in order for us to come into order, right, we have to finally step into our authenticity. We have to choose to be vulnerable, to choose to show up as we are and say, if your parents don't like it, if your family doesn't like it, if your current friends don't like it, if your current tribe or business or employment does not like it, I am not going to conform. I am not going to go back to being a chameleon and wearing a mask and showing up how you need me to. I'm going to show up in my authenticity. Now, that doesn't mean you still won't play roles, right? Sometimes you have to play the bad guy. Sometimes you have to trigger somebody in your life. And nobody likes doing that, right? I'm the queen of triggering people. People either love me or hate me. There's rarely a balance there. It's like, I love her. Oh my God, she triggers the shit out of me, you know? And that's okay. Because even though I'm triggering you, I'm planting seeds. I'm lighting a fire under your butt. Whew, there's so much energy in here. But as we come into the middle of the month, again, there's that heart activation. This is and throat activation, but this is an opportunity for you, you guys. It's an opportunity for you to restructure yourself, to choose that new path, because that's what's going to be happening with the soul activation, that soul tribe, that soul family activation that's coming in with the heart activation. This is going to be one of those pivotal moments where you're going to watch people getting divorced, or finding their soulmate, right? The one, when I say soulmate, this is two wholes walking together, connecting, expanding, not codependency, not, right? You're going to see people dropping companies, leaving businesses, quitting their jobs, like complete and utter 180 shifts. And this is where that rug gets pulled out. If you're not listening to your intuition, tell me if you've been there, because I know I have. I didn't listen. It was like, there went the rug. Whoop, let me knock you on your ass. Let me reorganize everything and divinely get you back on the right path. And that there's going to be a shit ton of that. So again, be in that observation mode. Now, with that, there's going to be confusion, right? Because this is not the ideal time. You know, everybody talks about how you don't make big decisions in Mercury. So a lot of the decisions that are going to be made, right, they may be rebalanced when Mercury goes direct, right? You may feel this upheaval and make a decision, and then a couple of weeks later, you know, or whatever, a couple of months later, you're like, oh, no, I want that back, right? That wasn't a mistake. I changed my mind. And I don't tell you that so that you doubt. I tell you that so you will trust and know that whatever decisions you feel called to make in the now moment, you just got to trust them, because it's all happening for a reason. It's all happening for a reason. Okay. With all the truth being revealed and all this big activations coming out, all of this false information and false sense of whatever, one of the other big things that they were bringing forth and talking about was, in regards to trusting, you know, the intuition, was really stepping into the observer role. And so I want to talk about that for just a second. What does that mean, to be the observer of your reality? Okay. Because those that know me real well know that I am constantly observing myself. Even as I'm channeling right now, there is an aspect of me watching myself. Like it's always that way. I'm always able to see what beings are around me. I'm always able to see what I am doing, even when I'm technically like really in my human is next to me. Do you see what I'm saying? My human gets out of the way. So when you're the observer of your reality, you are not in your reality, meaning you're not in the thick of it. You are observing it. You're not emotionally attached to it. You're not swimming in it. Because when you're swimming in it, you can't see what's around you. You can't see all of what's available. But when you're the observer, when you're standing outside of the pool, you can see all aspects and you get to choose how you want to respond. Being the observer requires, presence. It requires presence for you to slow down, for you to not be rushing, for you to not be reactive, for you to be in the now moment. And as you observe, you will begin to notice the stories, your ego, right? That logic inside of you, that logical reasoning, creating hypotheticals, inserting assumptions about the next now moment, about the future. If you make this decision, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. And what they said was, every time that happens, can you see that as a frame? Because think about when you frame a photo or you frame whether it's a piece of art or a family photo. You don't frame it unless you love it, unless that is the final decision and it's ready to be displayed on the wall. So when you have those stories that you're observing, right, those assumptions, those creations of the next now moment, I want you to ask yourself, do I want to put a frame around this? Do I want to frame this and hang it on the wall? Do I want to showcase this to the world? Do I want to say, this is my reality? Because if it isn't, in that now moment, okay, in that now moment, you can say, no, that's not my final. That is not, I do not want to frame that. I don't want to create that. And you ask yourself, gosh, what else is possible? What other options do I have? And it's by using inquiry, right? And really connecting to your ego and connecting to your higher self and connecting to the other parts of you. Do you guys see the orbs going by? Holy crap. And a fruit fly. When you're doing that, right? You get to choose. When you're talking to your ego, when you're talking to your higher self and you're like, what are my options here? What else you got? And when you start using inquiry, because your ego your ego doesn't die, you guys. It just integrates. It becomes a ally. It wants to protect you, so you have to give it a job. So use inquiry and say, what other options do I have? What else is possible? Like that doesn't work for me. That's the power of presence. That is the power of being the observer of your reality. You want to get out of your head? Reframe it. And if you're really stuck in the trenches, if you're really stuck in that whirlpool or that quicksand that is the logical brain, because remember, right now there's this duality. So we have this sensing energy, right, which is like that clairsentience. It's our whole body being our instrument. It's us receiving through the emotional field, which is not logic at all. And its counterpart, its other half, is logic. And there's that battle that plays out. Nonsense, logic, nonsense, logic. And so this month is about this rebalancing, you finding the space between, that gray area, the bridge between the two of them. This is why this month, this opportunity could literally shift your entire reality completely. if you show up for yourself. So I don't care how you show up for yourself. If that means one day you need to lay in bed and just cry and just not judge it and just lay there and cry, if that means that you can't watch any of this anymore and you decide you just need to sleep and just release, right? Because they're saying, like, look at animals. And we're not much different than the animals, you guys, but we've just kind of gone a different direction a little bit. And we're going to come back to it. But if you ever watch an animal, they use their energy extremely wisely. So when they sleep by themselves, they are releasing, because animals are transmuters. So they take on our energy, they take on our density, they take on the collective energy, and they bring it into their body and they transmute it and they release that density, right? There's this transmutation that happens. So they'll sleep alone. And they'll go into these huge rest cycles. And when they're ready to move and ramp up their energy and create energy, you'll see them going through cycles of rambunctiousness and big movement. We are the same way. So self-care has to become a priority. And that means you putting yourself first, you guys. I cannot say this enough. That means you wake up and your day starts with you, filling your cup, moving your body, connecting, bringing your higher self back into your body, breathing, deep belly breaths, taking that time, even if that means, if all you need to do, if your morning is anything, just you sitting there in a cup of coffee, staring at a tree, just recharging, do it. Take a bath. Put your feet on the ground, your bare feet. Get in the ocean. Get in a pool. Go walk and talk to a tree. Go feel the breeze. Sit and just stare at a rock. When she was talking about order, she was saying that if you look at the elements, right? Again, the activation of the ancients. If you look at the elements and the cycle that they take, and how with the ancients, the trees and the rocks, they break down, they change form, they rebirth constantly. You have to be doing this for yourself. You have to be your own root system. You have to be like the trees, rooted down deep. And something that's been coming through a lot is, for those that are struggling, there's a lot of people that are really struggling with this density and they're really having a hard time feeling. And so there's a lot of people jumping out of their body. And when you jump out of your body, when you're ungrounded, you can have vertigo, you can be a klutz and hurt yourself a lot, right? You can have you're not in your body, you're not feeling, you're not present. And that happens because when your body's riddled with trauma and grief and karmic energies that have been passed down epigenetically from the 7 lineages before us, right? Because this human suit came loaded with shit already on it, just like every computer does. It came with the Earth program, right? And then it got added in the parents program and the parents program. All that shit's down there. This whole month is about our subconscious and unconscious, which makes up 90 to 95% of us, depending on your level of awareness. That's how much is unconscious or subconscious. It requires presence to bring the unconscious conscious. There's no other way. There really isn't. I feel like I lost a stream of consciousness with something I was supposed to go, but it'll come back. It always does. So we are in the middle of the month. We are going to be changing trajectories. People are going to be becoming the change they want to see in themselves and in the world. Because if you look in a mirror, it's not going to smile back at you first. You have to smile first, right? You have to smile first before you will see the smile in the mirror. So that means that when you want to see something different in your reality, when you want more money, more people, a better job, a new relationship, a new place to live, whatever it is, whatever you want to become, whoever you want to be, whatever you want to stand for, you have to act as if now. You have to show up. You have to find a way to be the change. And if you don't know how, reach out to me. I have lots of digital experiences. I have private mentorships. I even have a monthly membership that's ridiculously cheap so that I can help anybody anywhere on their journey. You don't have to do this alone. You don't even have to do it with me. We are all rising together. Find someone you resonate with. And if all you can do is talk to a therapist or talk to a tree or talk to an animal, do it. Get it out. Talk to yourself. Pull out your phone, open your video, and start talking to yourself. Look at yourself in the eye and say what you need to say. But be the change. Show up differently. That's the only way to make this reality different. And as we go into the last cycle, this is when we're starting that rebalancing, where we're starting to find that middle ground. I don't know about you, but I am just, y'all know what happens to me when I channel. I'm sweating up here. We are going to be transmuting unreal amounts of density. Unreal amounts of density, you guys. We are going to be making ridiculous amounts of space. We can't have a new financial system. We can't have a new school system. We cannot have a new government until the old ones break down. And that is what's happening. And it's all happening for us. And we chose to be here for this. This is the most grand event happening in the universe right now. This is the show that everybody wants to watch. Get your popcorn out, get into that observer role and say, what can I learn from what's going on? What can I learn? What can I take away? Look at it like you are watching a movie. And y'all know, right? When those people walk behind the chainsaws in the garage, and you're like, you idiot. That's not where you go. Go the other way. If you can, as much as you can, get into that observer role and watch the movie play out. You will learn. You will receive wisdom. You don't like what's happening? What would you do different? How would you show up different? And then do it. So there's going to be this grand rebalancing. And this is when you are going to see a rise of the new way showers. Those of us like me who have been preparing for the last, 8 years, if not longer, preparing. We have been making space. We have been showing up. We've been doing the shadow work. We have been integrating our higher self. We have been reorganizing our reality. We have been being the change, preparing ourselves to step into the spotlight and lead the new paradigm. You're going to see the rise of the new way showers. And you're going to see a lot of old influencers, a lot of people who have been around for quite a while. You're going to start seeing them fall away, right? Because now they have new roles to play. So there's going to be a lot happening. And please hear my words when I say this. It's a lot. So wherever you are and however you choose to handle this, don't judge yourself. Don't go into comparison. Don't beat yourself up. Don't shame other people. And sure as hell, don't shame yourself. Don't tell people if they're doing it right or wrong. Don't tell people that what they believe and what they're posting is not their truth. Because it is. It's their truth. And when you look at something that triggers you online, something that is not your truth, that trigger had to happen. It has something for you. You should thank that person for triggering you. Honestly, you should say thank you, because now something that was a wound, a lens of which I was looking through, making decisions from a wounded place, can now be transmuted. It can be cleaned. It can be cleansed. Because it was really interesting when I said, what's the difference between third dimensional consciousness and fifth dimensional consciousness, right? Even fourth dimensional consciousness. And the difference was huge. It was one, you make a decision out of fear. In third and fourth dimensional consciousness, you make decisions based on fear, on doubt, on your own wounds, on your own traumas. And when you are fully integrated into 5D, you'll know it because you won't make decisions anymore from any other place than love. And so there's a lot of people that are kind of dipping their toes into 5D. They're not all the way there yet. And that's okay too. Like literally, you guys know there's no right or wrong. I say that on repeat. It's whatever you need it to be. You're always right where you are. You're okay. So if you want to be a way shower and you want to be out there showing people a new way, step into that observer space, step into that neutral place. And when you see people that trigger you, when you see people with opposing opinions, remind yourself that's their truth. Just as your truth, while it may be different, is yours. And nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take your truth the way that you see it, because whether it's right or wrong, or it perceived to be right or wrong, it's just somebody looking through the lens of their wounds. That shit gets dirty. You got to clean it. So big change is coming, and it's going to continue. This is a big point in our journey right now. This is a big activation, right? So no, this isn't going away. There's going to be a continuous flow of things showing up on the main stage, on the stage of duality, showing up because it's purging. Just remember that underbelly. Remember that all of those centuries of inappropriate ways of handling things is rising just to be felt, just to be accepted, to receive the wisdom from it so that the density can finally allow the light in. If you don't accept, the light cannot enter. It can't. You have to love the dark as much as you love the light, or you will be in constant fight. So the very last thing that I want to talk about is this, and I'm just going to say, I want you guys to live for your nervous system. Your nervous system is a conductor. It's your column of light. It connects you to the earth grid and this earth matrix game that's playing out, and it connects you to the ethers. It connects you to your soul, to your higher self, to the other beings that you have been, the other realities that you are currently living in, right? Since it all happens simultaneously, right? We really don't have past lives. It's all happening right now. That is your conductor. And we don't want, I know I don't want to live in fight, flight, or freeze. And I did for a long time. It's why I created my digital experience Unity, which is advanced alchemy, but shit works like ridiculously good. You want to live for your nervous system. So when you feel the emotions rising, just stop what you're doing and be present with them. Breathe long, deep breaths. Reset your system. Step away from whatever you are in. Stepping away from the media that you're watching, or the person in your life that's toxic, or the job that's toxic, or letting go of the clients that are not resonating with you anymore, or the programs and the things that you are doing, whether it be for entertainment purposes or business purposes. Let what needs to change. Your priority right now is to make peace inside of you. to make peace inside of you. However you need to do that. And so in the moment, if you need to cope, cope. But when that moment's over, process it. Be with it. Just as if a little child came up and was like, Mommy, this is scary. You are going to comfort her or him. You need to do that for yourself. You really have to do that for yourself. So I'm going to look through comments, which means I need to put my glasses on. And then we'll wrap this because I can't believe it's only been an hour. I feel like I've been talking for forever. So I'm just going to scroll back up. And I'm going to ask you guys, if you're just now popping on or didn't hear me before, I'm really asking for my family of light in human form, the fellow way showers, light leaders, light workers, whatever you classify yourself as, healers, to share this broadcast, to put away your fears of judgment and share it, because this message needs to be received by all who are ready to hear it. So you don't need to worry about who sees it, because who are drawn to it, who are ready to receive it, who are ready to hear this will. They will. And I'm just asking you to broaden that spectrum and make it more available. Okay, so let me go through and see if there's any comments. Oh, Natasha, you're so funny. Thank you for sharing, Natasha. I really appreciate you. Aubrey's favorite. Hi, Aubrey. I worked with Aubrey when she was in the womb. It was one of the funnest things I ever did, was working with babies in the womb. Let's see. I'm glad it's all resonating with you guys. Angela says, when you fight with your emotions, you create suffering. I freaking love that. It's so true, though. You guys, we do it to ourselves. And every time it happens, I'm like, yep. I don't beat myself up anymore when it happens. It's just like, okay, I attach to this. When you attach to something, there's a need, right? There's something there that says, I need this. And so we hold on for dear life. And when we need and we hold on and we don't open our hands and let go, or at least open our hands and say, if you need to go, you can go, right? It doesn't mean we have to drop it. But when we do that, there's a dependency there. There's a codependency. There's something that's bringing a false sense of security. So check in with that. Sometimes we have to attach to our suffering and our emotions so that we can realize that there's a program running there. Misty says, oh man, this hits hard. So powerful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Disclosure made from the heart, or decisions made from the heart. Yes. Lead with love. Perfect. Perfect. This was a top-notch energy update. And I just want to thank the ancients and the Nine and the Galactic Federation and the Pleiadians and my higher self and all the beings that work with me, my own personal family of light. And anytime, you guys, you know what? I'm going to tell you a couple of things that I do real quick. We're going to close this out with some ways in which you can really cope. Okay. So if you're struggling, I want you to take note of these things. So there's some things you can do. These are some things that I have used over the years that have really served me well. And so the first one I'm going to say is, if you have to go out in public, if you have to go out into town, into stores, anything like that, grab a pair of headphones, prepare yourself. As you go in, be playing classical music, high vibrational music, meditation music without words, right? So just like some frequency music. I personally will listen to the God frequency. That is one of my favorite frequencies to listen to when I go out. It keeps me centered. It keeps me in my peace. It keeps me focused on me and not at the energy surrounding me, not what everybody else is playing in and carrying and bringing to the table. It allows me to stay grounded and connected into me, right? Which is what the whole meaning of groundedness is. It's connecting into the human body. So that is a must. Okay. 2, again, anytime you are really overwhelmed or something is really emotional or really anxious or too much, lay on the floor. Just lay down on the floor. You can lay out in the grass too if you want. Place your hands on your heart. Just put them there and just start to breathe. Like super long, deep breaths, like 5-7 seconds in, 5-7 seconds out. You can even pause for 5 seconds if you want to. You can do the 3. Just really slowing, resetting the nervous system. Okay. And then you can drop into your heart. Another thing you can do, you can drop into that heart. And you can lay on the floor, you guys, and breathe for as long as you need to, right? So there's no time limit here. If you're in your head, you can drop into your heart. I talked about this on my radio show, The Breakdown. Close your eyes. You can use music that invokes memory or emotion. Like I'll listen to songs that bring me back to a time where life was really awesome, or I had an amazing experience, or I felt an immense amount of joy, or a song that really just kind of opens me up and gets me moving and dancing and shaking. Sometimes I drop into my heart and I access a memory that is one of those memories that is so filled with joy that you're like busting with tears of joy, and just sitting with it for as long as you can, right? Just sitting with that memory and being with it and feeling it and bringing it to the surface. You can go out and go for a walk in nature. Spend time alone, allowing yourself to process and release. Okay? So, and again, limiting your media coverage. How do you get your news, right? Facebook, I know I'm on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube right now, but Facebook has a lot going on, right? So if that means you have to take a break from Facebook, or you need to start hiding posts so you're not seeing people who are super in your face and on repeat, then do what you need to do. You get to control what you see in your feed, you guys. And if it hurts someone's feelings because you unfriended them or whatever, so be it. It's Facebook. It's not the end of the world, right? We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have all these other platforms, or you can just get off of it altogether. But limit the way you get your news, right? So there's a certain time where I'll check in with my news and just kind of get the updates of what's happening, so I know what's going on in my area. I'm aware, right? You don't want to be uneducated. You don't want to be unaware, but you don't want to go swimming in it either. Okay. So limit your environment, make your home your sanctuary. Play, again, classical or meditation music, or something even low in the background just to keep a nice vibe going, right? Put crystals or plants or things that bring you joy all around you, and laugh. And always put your 3D goggles on like they're glasses, like you're in the theater, and say, oh, it's time to watch the grand show. And I'm going to look at this like it's a movie playing. And be of service. So if there are protests or things that are happening, get out and be of service. Help clean up. Help wash walls that are burnt. Help bring food and love to people who are hurting. Get out and give people hugs. You guys, we need hugs. Get out and be of service. This is how we physically shift. And that's what's happening. Okay? Oh, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. You are all perfect. You are all whole. You are all right where you need to be. Stay strong. Stay connected to your core. And trust yourself before anything else. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Bye.